Hello and welcome back to another episode of Unscripted with Nompumelelo. This is a space where we peel back the layers, drop the pretenses, and get to the heart of the stories that shape us. Today, we are diving into a conversation that defines the word resilience. They say that hard times don't create heroes, they reveal them. And my guest today has walked through a fire that would have broken many, only to come out on the other side with the message of profound hope. I'm joined by Lesego Mataboge, the author of the powerful book, Tough Times Never Last, but Tough People Do. He is sharing his struggle with osteomyelitis, a story of hope. In this episode, Lesego takes us through his personal and painful battle with this disease, a rare and serious bone infection, and shares how he navigated the physical agony and mental toll it took. But more than this, it is a story about refusal to give up. Whether you are facing a health crisis, a professional setback, or just the weight of the world, Lesego's journey is a reminder that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Lesego, welcome to Unscripted with Nompumelelo. Before we dive into your incredible journey, I want to take you all the way back. Where does the story of Lesego Mataboge begin? Where were you born?
Okay. Thanks for having me first, Mpumi. I come from Tabazimbi. I was actually born in a farm 20 kilos outside Tabazimbi. My dad used to work for Tabazimbi mine. So I'm the third child of six.
Big family?
Big family. I'm the middle one.
The middle one. Wow. Interesting. And how was life in Tabazimbi?
Growing up, very interesting. We grew up in a mine town. As I say, my dad used to work for Tabazimbi mine. We actually lived 20 k's outside Tabazimbi town itself. So he would ride a bicycle, not drive, ride a bicycle between Tabazimbi and come into the farm where we stayed. So those days they had what they called hostels, but my dad preferred to stay with us at the farm. So he wasn't staying in the hostel. He was riding a bike up and down.
Sure.
So
must have been fit every day.
Yeah. I mean, the old people were fit, right?
That is so true. That is so true. We are often a collage of the people who raised us.
Yeah.
Who are the key figures in your early life that shaped the person that you are today?
I would say my parents, Mpumi. I was still telling the story of my dad driving up and down. I mean, that gave me a sense of what a father should do. As my kids grew up, and I'm going to come back to your question. But as my kids grew up, I drove my kids to school from preschool to up until they went to matric.
Until they wanted to say, no, Daddy, please.
Yes. Now they actually don't want to be close to them. But that's what growing up with a father who does that does to you.
Yeah.
So because we stayed in a farm, if I go back quickly, we either had to go to a farm school or go to, because Tabazimbi town had a school, their primary school, or go there. Luckily, my father's older brother had a mine house in Tabazimbi. So he decided that he was going to send us to Tabazimbi. I mean, if we went to a farm schools are far. You have to walk far.
Yeah.
If we went there, probably wouldn't have made high school. So, those type of decisions. And as I grew up and, watching him, him and my dad actually anchored us. So they influenced how we behave today, how we look
you've
after
turned
our
out,
parents.
yeah.
I remember going to church was a must.
No choice.
No choice. You say nobody stays behind on a Sunday.
I mean, I lock my house if you're
Lock my
not
house.
coming
You
to
guys,
church.
everyone is going.
Yeah.
So those type of things actually influenced my character. Growing up, growing with two parents, being there. So yeah, they really anchored us.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. So you've written a book, Tough Times Never Last.
Yeah.
But tough people do.
Yes.
My struggle with osteomyelitis, a story of hope.
Yeah.
And this is a copy that you gave to me.
Yes.
You gave me this copy on the 20th of February 2019.
Yeah.
After you gave me my letter of appointment.
Okay.
Yes, I remember very well. I just joined a business that you were working in.
Yeah.
And we were going to be peers, which we still are. Yeah. And you gave me this book, and I read it again recently, just in preparation for our conversation. Sure. And I want to ask you something before I deep dive into some of the insights from the book.
Yeah.
Looking at your childhood, do you think being a tough person is something that we are born with, or is something that we have to teach ourselves?
Look, it's something that everyone can be tough, right? And maybe the word tough is the wrong word to use. But resilience you can build. It actually talks to resilience.
Yeah.
So resilience you can build. Every one of us can, build that resilience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, what does it take? I mean, I suppose if you are going through challenges and the circumstances call you to be resilient, but you are not a resilient being, what does it take for you to get to a point where, like, I have no choice but to be resilient?
Yeah. Look, life for me, throws curveballs at us every day, right? We have to accept where we are at that point in time, but also see beyond where we are, right? Because the only time you're able to build resilience is when you accept where you are and you actually can see life beyond where you are. So then you have something to strive for. You have hope to strive for. And you're willing to go through what you are going through at the time, because there is hope for something better.
Yeah.
And you have to create that hope in your own mind.
Yeah. So if it's not in your mind, if you cannot see it, then it becomes difficult for you to build the resilience that you require. Because if you see up to now, then you can't build the resilience you need for the future.
Exactly, because your circumstances become too much for you.
Yeah.
You have to see beyond your circumstances. You have to be able to create something beyond the current circumstances.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just sink in the now.
Yeah, they drown you, right? They drown you. So could you start just by sharing what osteomyelitis is and describe the personal journey? Because, I mean, when I read this book, the first time I read the book, I really couldn't put the book down, because when I read it was earlier on in a relationship. And when I read it again, your voice, I mean, I can hear your voice throughout the book. So if you can please just share about this disease and describe your personal struggle.
Yeah. So maybe let me start by saying what osteomyelitis is.
Yeah.
Osteomyelitis is a bone infection. You get an infection right in the bone. So I only learned later that this is osteomyelitis. It sounds like big English, but it's actually medical jargon. But it refers to an infection on the bone. So when I was about 8, I think I was 8, we had just moved from a farm that my dad used to ride up and down from. So he was lucky to get a house, a mine house in Tabazimbi. So we had just moved there. I think I was around 8. I actually had done my, I'm going to reveal my age now because I wouldn't remember what the grades are. I had actually done my.
I am counting back as we speak.
I think it was standard 1, the old standard 1, guys.
That's the one I know, actually.
So the one, it was over December. I think just before December, it was in November. I started feeling actually started on the heel. My heel was a bit heavy. I couldn't put my foot down. And this thing developed to get to my thigh. I don't know even how it got to the thigh, but the thigh was swelling at an alarming rate. That December I couldn't walk. I say in the book, my dad used to put me on his back to carry me to a clinic, and when you're at the clinic, because people don't know what actually you're suffering from, they keep on putting deep heat on this thing. But it's not getting better. It's swelling and swelling. What I learned years later, was that this is osteomyelitis. There was an infection on the bone. Because the pus can't come out, this is what was causing the swelling.
The swelling,
So they don't know what it is. I think I was that year I was in hospital for the whole December, and they still couldn't figure out
what the issue was. And that was still in Tabazimbi,
right?
That
was still in Tabazimbi.
Before you came to Kalafong?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, so when they couldn't get it right, I'll come back to it. When they couldn't get it right, so this doctor decided he was going to initially wanted to draw blood out of the thigh, but it was sore. I mean, I was 8 and I can still remember how I was screaming at 52. I can still remember.
Yeah.
So it was so painful. So eventually decided I was going to do an operation to check what that was. They took me to theater and they had, he operated on this thing. And then, when I got back, I still have this scar on my thigh, huge scar, but he had put a drainage pipe. Apparently the pus was so much that they couldn't clean it out at theater.
That they needed to
find drain
an
it out.
outlet to drain it.
Yeah. So the scar still reflects where the drainage pipe came out. But still they didn't know what was causing that.
And that must have been hard, Lesego. You've now gone into surgery for them to figure out what exactly is wrong, and you come out of surgery, you still have no idea what is wrong.
No idea. So I remember, I also say this in the book, I remember one of my father's brothers came to see me. I was just coming out of theater. When you come out of theater, you're still a bit dizzy from from the anesthesia. We called it mbamba then. so he's trying to speak to me, and I can't speak because I'm still and then he runs back home and says to my dad, "You better go take that boy out of that hospital." This thing in his mind, I was dying, and this thing was witchcraft, and I had to.
I saw that. I read that, and how interesting that when we actually don't know, then we find answers, even where there are no answers.
Exactly.
And years later, then, I mean, can you walk us through the journey of you getting to be properly diagnosed?
So that took a long time. I think I I got to know what the real issue was when I was working. I was already an HR manager at the time, but let me tell you what actually happened. So from Tabazimbi, they couldn't get this thing right. The pus continued to come out. They, referred me to Kalafong Hospital in Pretoria. Also a very interesting journey on its own.
Yes. Train ride with your dad overnight.
Overnights. I mean, it used to take us a day and a half to get to
Kalafong
here in Attersville.
And how long does it take you now from here to get to
2.5 hours. So referred to Kalafong had to be, I was more in hospital than I was at school. So Kalafong, they admitted me. They also did the same thing, did the operations, countless operations. Sure. Right? I can't remember how many I've done on the same place, but still couldn't get it right. When I went to university, I still had pus coming out, but I had a way of managing this now. I had, I would put bandages on. That's also a challenge on its own because you don't afford to buy new bandages all the time. So you have to rewash and reuse and rewash. So you cope. So went to varsity, still with that. I remember when I was at varsity, and I say in the book, at school, I was traumatized because when I was talking to one of the friends, when I was
that you confided in,
that I confided in, I thought I could trust this boy because he was curious. He wanted to know, why do you always have a bandage on? So I explained to him what's happening. And a few days later, when we had a boy quarrel, he tells everyone.
Yeah.
So then your secret is out in the open. You start having trust issues. So when I was at varsity, I decided, keep to yourself. I remember going to shower when everyone has showered, so that I don't have to explain myself. That's what it does.
Yeah. So I see why trust is a big thing for you. And when I read the book, it just made me realize that this is who you've always been. You confided in someone and they then decided that's it. They are going to share, which did not work well. But there's something that I thought was very interesting when you said that there was a lover that you were with, that you went and you were like, listen, I want to be focusing on my schoolwork and all of that. Yeah. But you also share in the book how it was just a challenge to get close to people because you wanted to protect your space.
Exactly. So because we're colleagues and you now know me a little bit better, you'd know that safety, it's number one in my...
Yeah, absolutely.
And this kind of experiences shape how you end up in life, because now you want to protect yourself. You want to, and as you start having a family, you also want to protect the family.
Absolutely.
So it's, how you grew up influences, what the person you become. So yeah, can't even remember what your question
I was talking about that girl that you dumped because...
Oh, okay.
That girl.
So now I can kind of put this thing in a logical explanation, and especially for young people. At the time, all I knew is that I wanted to be a better person in future than I was. Yeah. And I also knew that I had some sacrifices to make. I wasn't just going to get there if I had, if I lived like a king when I had nothing.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to make sacrifices.
So she was one of them.
She was the sacrifice, one of the sacrifices. But there were many other sacrifices. I stayed up and did the work, studied on weekends when my my peers were out playing. So I did a lot of that. So I was still saying, now I can actually put it in what I call logical sense. You must have a goal. You must have a plan. You must put effort, old-fashioned hard work.
Yeah.
You must put effort if you're going to get to your goal. And lastly, you must have a bit of luck, depending on what you believe or God's favor. But that's only a little bit.
Yeah.
Know what you want. Have a plan.
Yeah.
Put effort. That's 80%.
Yeah. And then that favor. Yeah.
So coming back. So she was the sacrifice. I went to varsity with the past, still coming out. I came back to start looking for a job. I worked. At work, I think people only knew that I had this condition after I was at the HR manager, at an HR manager level. I didn't want people to relate to me based on PT.
Yes.
I wanted to get to where I get to
on merit.
Yeah. So when I started working and then I could afford medical aid, that's when I started looking for options. How do I resolve this? How do I, because I always had an issue with, okay, how long will this carry on? Will I go into my old age with this? So I started looking for options. That's when I got to the orthopedic, Dr. Ravelas. Had to come here in Pretoria. So the guy, I say in the book, mistakenly cut my main artery. Almost died. But here we are.
But you didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah, you did it. And you had to make a very tough decision.
Yes.
Of deciding that's it. I'm done. When he wanted to do the second surgery.
I said no.
You said no. I mean, how was that like?
So the funny part with this last operation was I was already working. There was already a private hospital at Tabazimbi. So when I went to see this guy, he said to me, there are two main decisions. And I say in the book, for the first time, a doctor sat me down and said, this is the plan.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do. And I understood the plan. And then he said, okay, now that I've told you my plan, you have to make two decisions. I said, okay, shoot. So the first one, where do you want this thing done? Do you want it done here? Because I come to Tabazimbi, I can do it here. Tabazimbi is a small hospital. Or I can do it in Pretoria. So I said Pretoria. I said, okay, what's the second one? And then he says, do you want localized anesthesia or do you want the general one? Without missing a beat, general. When this happened, when he cut my artery, and the explanation he gave was, look, because they have been operating on this thigh for many, many years, it wasn't in its rightful position. But the point I want to make is, when he cut my artery, if he did that and I was in Tabazimbi, I was dead. When he did it in Pretoria, they could call a vascular surgeon over the intercom. Bigger hospital facilities are there. They called him. This guy came through, stitched back the artery. When I woke up, I was in ICU, and he was.
But you were alive.
But alive.
Yeah.
But he was standing next to me, the orthopedic surgeon, and he says, "There was a big mistake." I said, "Okay. No, I cut your artery by mistake. It wasn't in the right position." But Mpumi, I thanked God for the decisions I made, because if I did it in Tabazimbi, for sure I would have died. The second one, even if it was in Pretoria in a bigger hospital, if I had said localized, I probably would have still died, because I would have seen them panic. I would have heard them.
You would have died 1,000 deaths before you actually died, right?
So after that mess, I refused to go back. So he had said to me he was going to put what he called antibiotic beads, attach them on the bone. He said to me, this thing is very difficult to heal. So I'm going to attach antibiotic beads on the bone. We're not going to take them out, but I need to do the other side of your leg. I never went back. He tried to influence me to come back, and I said no.
No.
But luckily, it took a while. Luckily, then one day the pus stopped coming.
Yeah.
And I was worried at first because every time that happened, I knew that pain was, there was going to be an absence somewhere, and the pain that comes from that was unbearable.
Yeah.
So even when it stopped, I was still worried that no, this thing is gonna come back. I don't trust this thing.
Yeah.
But it never did.
It never came back. So there's one thing that you speak about, you write about in the book, that when I read that, there's two. One I'm going to read, but one talks to your mom.
Yeah.
From reading, I can tell that you guys had a very close relationship. And I'm sorry she's no more to see the person that you've become. But when you speak about your mom, there's that compassion, there's also that prayerfulness that comes with it. And I just talk to us a little bit about your relationship with your mom. It sounds like it was a very special relationship.
No, it was. I think life became very different, very, very different when my mom passed, 2006, if I still recall. She was my number one supporter.
Yeah.
Every little thing, whether I had just bought a small sofa, Mama would be there and she would be the first one to be excited. Yeah. My number one supporter. I remember I used to, every time before I go home, I would go pick up my mom from work. When I was working at Tawazimbi, so Tawazimbi is a small town.
Yes.
So when you come from the office, I pass by my mom. If she's not there, she's still at work. I would go fetch her. So we had that kind of relationship. She was a prayerful woman as well. So yeah, I went through after. I think I say in the book, the one person I missed when the past stopped coming was my mom.
Yeah.
Because I would have loved her to be there, to
because those are her answered prayers.
Those are her answered prayers.
That stopping of that pus is one of her prayers that she prayed. You also write about how she looked when you guys were leaving to go to Galafong.
Yes.
That you could sense and you could tell that she was worried, but she kept it together because she didn't want you to worry, of course. She wanted you to be comfortable traveling to Pretoria and be okay and feel that you'll come back. The other very touching passages when you share that at Galafong, because home was far.
Yeah.
So you would not have visitors every day like other patients. And on the day that they came, from the book, I could even feel the excitement of the day.
Yeah. So it was a special day.
Yeah.
I remember it was a Saturday. So, when you're young, at 8, around, I think around 9, 10. Your dad drops you at the hospital. He leaves.
Yeah.
I say in the book, I remember sitting every day. I was standing in the passage where that we used to come through to the ward,
to try
hoping
and see,
hoping that one day I would see him come through from through that passage. But it was far, and I knew it was far. It was the most difficult period. I remember having to pretend that I'm sleeping when other kids were having visitors, and you had visitors 2 times a day.
Yeah, so
at
you had
3
people
and at
coming
7.
And
So the day my parents came, it was a big day for me. And luckily the hospital, allowed me a pass out. I could sit with them outside in the hospital lounge
and just enjoy the time
with them.
Yeah. But you seem to make friends and family everywhere you go, because then you met nursing staff there that became family, that became your support system.
Yes, and I didn't even know them before the time, right? So they were nursing students. I remember them coming to my ward one day introducing themselves. I was Flora, sadly she has passed, and I was Mimiki, and say, no, we're actually from Tabazimbi. There's a child from Tabazimbi here, so we came to see you. From that day onward, I had visitors.
Yeah.
This is what Ubuntu is all about. So I also started feeling like other kids who...
Yeah, now had a community and people coming to see you.
Yes, visiting meant something from that day on.
It wasn't pretending to be sleeping so that you can just,
be out of people's faces.
That must have been hard, Lesego. I think, having spent a great deal of my time in hospital, sometimes when you can choose that you don't want visitors, it's something else. But when you need people to visit you and they can't, that must be hard.
No, it's
that
hard.
Must be hard.
It's even harder for a child.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I was a child at the time.
Yeah, sure. It's so difficult to even try and reason out. I mean, it's far. It will take a day and a half or 2 days to travel from Tabazimbi to Pretoria. But you're a child. You need your parents here. You need that sense of familiarity, and that's good for you. It's part of your healing, and you don't have that. So I would like to just check with you. When you were writing the book, what was your process? Was the writing a cathartic process for you, or did revisiting the memory of your illness present new challenges, or were you looking at things slightly different when you were penning this book?
It took me very long, Pumi. This was the hardest thing I did, because going back to relive the memories. I mean, there was a stage where, not once, I think a number of times, where I just had to stop because it was too emotional for me. It was emotionally draining. I couldn't hold the tears. So then I stopped. I come back to it. So it took me a long time to actually finish it. So reliving, but also it was a healing process for me. Because as I relived, the memories and went through the pain again. It was a way of taking it out.
You allowed yourself to feel, which is not so for most men. We always find that men prefer to act macho, and so for you to say that you were reliving the memories, you were crying when you needed to cry, that's good. So in your own words, I mean, you've already spoken about resilience, but in your own words, when someone is facing a massive challenge, what becomes the definition of resilience? The willingness to stand. Is it the willingness to stand? Is it the willingness to say, okay, I'm in this situation today. If I don't see tomorrow, then I might not be able to get there.
Yeah. So what helped for me was creating this imaginary future.
Yeah, sure.
And staying in that imaginary future.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't do that, I would have been stuck where I was.
Yeah.
So it was important for me to create a future where, things were different. Life was good.
Yeah.
And stay there. But also knew what to do to actually get there. So it's one thing to dream.
That plan.
Yes, it's a plan. It's one thing to dream.
Work.
But the first step is when you're in a situation like that, in a circumstance like that, you need to create an imaginary future. You need to have a goal. You need to have something to strive for, something to live for. And if you don't have that, it becomes very difficult to get out of it.
So, I mean, we share a lot of conversations about our kids, about family. And I think that's one thing that our kids miss, that imaginary future. And we live in times where we do these boards where we put in our halls, where we visualize, and we put pictures of big houses, big cars and stuff. We do that, but boy kids don't do that. I mean, how do we motivate our boy children to actually decide that I want to dream so big that I can see the future, but also understand that I need to plan towards that future, then work hard towards that future?
Look, the difference between us and our kids, right? If I take my example, the situation and the circumstances were uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was not nice to stay there. So you needed to create something that's better than that.
Yeah.
Right? I think the challenge we have is to get our kids to dream, for something bigger than where you as a parent got to. Become uncomfortable with where they are, because you never move if you don't feel that this place is not comfortable for you.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge we have, and we've made it so comfy for them.
Yeah.
That is hard for them to see.
Yeah.
Life beyond this.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I'm grappling with the same challenge.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Me too. So I want to touch on your support structure, and you share in the book how you met Tebogo, your wife, and I know that she was a support structure. There's somewhere where you talk about her coming to pick you up from the hospital, driving you home, and all of that. I mean, who are those people that were part of your support structure?
So mainly my family.
Yeah.
So before I met Tebogo, my family, my siblings, my sister, the sacrifices that they made, it was huge.
Yeah.
Those sacrifices were huge. Because you also have, this one child that you can't be rough with.
Yes, must be tender.
You must be tender around him, and they often got in trouble. Sometimes So they made huge sacrifices, and then my wife also made huge sacrifices. When I met her, we moved to Van der Bijl Park at some point.
Yes.
I was still having the same problem. I was not, the pus was still coming out. So it was actually at Van der Bijl Park where they all closed. And when it closed, the pus built up and it was painful.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk. I was working. I couldn't explain to guys at work what this
What was happening?
So I had to go for surgery in Van der Bijl Park, again an orthopedic surgeon. And at that time, she was still even a learner driver. So and there was no one else. I mean, we had moved out of the support system from Tabazimbi. We were
to a new place.
We knew no one.
You knew no one.
So we had to rely on each other. I had to rely on her to drive me up and down, to be there. My kids were small. I can still remember at Van der Bijl Park after theater, the Dr. Malan was his name. I had lost a lot of blood, and they came. My wife came with the two kids, Tato and Utsepilo at the time, and I could see the concern in their face. So a lot of people, my family in particular, sacrificed a lot.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. I mean, moving on from patient to HR executive.
Yes.
And by the way, I mean, I know I've congratulated you on your executive MBA.
Yeah.
So well done on that. I am so inspired, although not international, because the travel you were doing, it was but you did it in record time.
I did. And again, I think the one reason I took the challenge at 50 to do MBA with London Business School and Columbia was actually to say to my kids, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you come from.
Yeah.
You can reach to the very top.
Yeah.
And I did.
And
it was challenging.
Yeah.
So this, I was saying to them the other day, I don't celebrate a lot because I'm too focused. But I was saying to them, look, this dad of yours from a farm somewhere in Tabazimbi has an international executive MBA from London Business School and Columbia Business School.
Yes.
And it wasn't a smooth ride. All you have to do is put effort.
Yeah.
It's 80% old-fashioned hard work.
And you did that. You did that. So as the executive of HR, you lead a function that's focused on people, well-being and their performance. So I'm wondering how your personal struggles, particularly with the disease and your recovery, how that has shaped your philosophy when it comes to employee wellness, when it comes to empathy and just plain resilience in the workplace.
It has contributed a lot. It actually, my experiences make me who I am.
Yeah.
And I can't even differentiate between work as an executive. So the compassion I have, for an ordinary worker, emanates from what I have gone through. I can relate. I can understand, what people go through. I was saying the other day at the long service function, if you recall, I'm a son of a mine worker.
Yes.
I know the mine worker experiences.
Your dad once left you home to go to the mine. I was called in.
Shift.
Hey, the whole experience. So you understand very well, given the fact that you work in the mining space. So as a leader and also as an author, just sharing such a personal story. This is you basically just bearing your soul out, being vulnerable to the highest level. And we know that most leaders struggle with being vulnerable, showing up as their authentic self. How do you maintain the executive presence that is required in your HR role?
Look, it's important to understand that we have a job to do.
Yeah.
Right. And the job requires certain behaviors. And if you don't display those behaviors, you will not be able to do the job that you do.
Yeah.
So we have to bear that in mind, but not separate who we are, the core us from the job.
Yeah. Because how do you bring half yourself, right at work? You just come as Lesego Mataboge and you bring all of you.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've seen your dedication, I mean, as your colleague firsthand. I've seen instances where I can see that, okay, here you're happy or here you're not happy. And I'm realizing a thread in terms of the learnings that have come from your journey, from your childhood journey, how you deal with complex situations, how you deal with pressure within the organization, and how also you, when you are convicted to a position, that's it, that's you. And I'm linking this to you dreaming about this life and be convicted to this picture that's not there, that's not real. It's just a picture in your mind, to the hard work that you have done to get to where you are today. And I absolutely know without a doubt that your mom would be so happy of you. I know she is happy wherever she is. There's something that I want to a small passage that I want to read.
Yeah.
You spoke about this earlier, but it's interesting that I also wanted to read this.
Yeah.
It's on page 39. My dad was an excellent role model, and it was at his side that I learned how to be a father. I considered how he treated me and realized that a father has to be present for his children. My dad was not rich, but he was always present and available to me throughout my illness. He never sent my mom with me to the doctor's appointments. Instead, he accompanied me. During his unfailing support, I wanted to model his behavior. Today, I endeavor to emulate my dad and try to be the best father possible to my children.
Yeah.
And we don't find this. I think in today's age, it's about money.
Yeah.
It's about how much money do you bring to the table. Whereas when you are raising kids, you want a partner that's present. They may not have the money. You just want presence, because that presence matters the most.
Yeah, it's so true. In leadership, we have this loose saying that we say, monkey see, monkey do. As my children were born, I always say this. I picked each one of them. When they were born, I was there. I was the first one to hold them. I drove each one of them to school myself, throughout the grades. When they get sick, now they don't allow me to do that because they think they're old. When they get sick, I took them to the doctor.
Yeah.
Me. I wasn't sending my wife with kids to the doctor, just like my dad did with me. He was riding trains with me to Kalafong. He was the one putting me on his back to that clinic at Tabazimbi. I saw all that, right? And today that's what I do, because that I don't know anything else. I think that's
what you know.
That's what a father should.
Yeah. No, that's good. I love your relationship with your dad. I think it's so important, to always relate to our parents while they're still alive, because one day they are no more and you have so many regrets. So I love that. So Lesego, I am almost close to wrapping up our conversation.
Okay.
But I'd like you to share, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who's facing an overwhelming, life-altering challenge, whether health-related or otherwise, what would it be?
Let that not define you. Our medical conditions, our situations that we find ourselves in are not us. They shouldn't define who we are, and they shouldn't determine where we end up.
Yeah.
Those things are temporary. You should see them as a temporary setback, but that's not where we're going to end.
Yeah.
So it's not destination, it's just where you are at the time.
Yeah. So I think my final question, so life, as the podcast title suggests, is often unscripted. You managed your vision and sense of purpose when things looked uncertain. When the diagnosis came, which was unscripted because it just came, and it took how many years for the post to stop?
Yeah, it was over 36 years, almost 40 years actually.
Wearing a bandage. So what does the term unscripted to you mean today?
Life happens.
Life happens.
Life happens.
I like that.
And let's just deal with it.
Yeah.
Life happens.
Deal with it.
Deal with it.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for making time to share your journey with me and everyone that follows this platform. Thank you.
Really a pleasure. Thank you.
Wow. I think we all need to take a deep breath after that. A huge thank you to Lesego for being so vulnerable and open with us today. His journey with this disease is not just a medical story. It is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. If there's one thing I'm taking away from our conversation, it's that tough times are inevitable, but they do not have the final say. Our response to them does. If you want to get a copy of this book, just pick up a copy from any of the bookstores. Thank you for tuning in and sharing this space with us. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend who might need a little hope today. Until next time, keep writing your own story and stay unscripted. I am Nompumelelo. Goodbye for now.